Okay guys, so I thought I'd give you the lay of the land before I really delve into specific areas in my yard, but this is essentially my back patio. And there's my little friend Charlie right there. And then there's a little bit of landscaping on the edge of that patio, but the bulk of my landscaping is really along the fence line, and that's probably where the majority of the plants that I'll go into detail on are located. Then back here is my garden pad, and this is really my happy place. This is where I do all of my vegetable gardening. I've got several raised beds, a greenhouse. I also have a stone compost enclosure and a keyhole garden back here. And if you're a backyard gardener like me, and maybe you don't have a ton of space to homestead per se, but you're interested in doing something like this or creating a space like this, do stay tuned to this channel, because I do plan on making a video about how I planned out that area and even some lessons that I learned along the way. So one of the things a lot of us are considering right now is whether or not to prune freeze damaged plants. And my mantra has always been, if it's dry and crispy, leave it alone. But if it's wet and mushy, go ahead and remove it. And the thought behind that is, you can see all that new growth there in the center of the plant, and these dry branches here might actually continue to provide some degree of protection from additional ice and freezing as we finish out the winter. So here is a dwarf Yaupon holly, and it has sustained some freeze damage in this section here. I've got several of them like that. And when it comes to my shrubs with these sections or areas of freeze damage, I tend to leave them until spring again, unless they're kind of mushy and blackened. And the thought behind that is, number one, I don't want to potentially stimulate any new growth that might be too tender to survive additional freezes. And number two, because sometimes the section that I thought was dead might actually still be viable, and you can't really tell that until you've had a decent warm-up. This is my prickly pear, and unfortunately it looks like it did not make it through the couple of freezes we did have. You can see the black, and this is super, it's real squishy and mushy. All this needs to go. I will leave this base here, and you never know, we might get some new shoots here along the bottom, so it may kind of grow back from the base, or it may not, but it's worth trying. Here is my camellia, and if you're not familiar with these shrubs, they are an evergreen, and they bloom in the fall and winter. And this particular plant was in full bloom when it got hit by that freeze in December. And so you can see all of the, the kind of damaged blooms, and then even the buds that were getting ready to bloom, they didn't quite make it. I'll probably come out and remove all of these just so that they don't continue to take any energy from the plant. On the flip side, I have another camellia here, and this guy, for whatever reason, I definitely sustained some freeze damage, and some of the blooms I don't think made it, but it was a little behind the other one, so maybe the blooms were a bit more, or the buds were protected, but it has really just now started to come alive, and it is blooming as we speak, and it's like mid-February here, so kind of a nice surprise. Here are the raised beds that I have in my garden pad, and I've got two narrow existing raised beds that are mulched over to prevent any volunteer plant growth or weed growth. And then I've got one, I just added a 4x6 bed that, and you can kind of see all the raised bed soil here that I need to fill up. Over here, I have got a couple of stone structures. This one here is actually called a keyhole garden, And this type of garden is meant for areas where there's maybe a lot of drought or water restrictions, or there's not a lot of access to fertilizer. It has a central composting bin there that actually acts as a nutrient source for the garden. If you're interested in learning more about this and how it works, I'll make sure I link a video in the description box below. Here is a stone compost enclosure, and I just recently put this together, and it's just, it's got the 2 different bins there. It's working out well so far. If you're interested in figuring out why I did what I did in terms of this compost bin or how I put it together, I'll also link a video in the description box below. If you're curious as to what these little plants are along the side, these are sempervivum. These are a type of succulent. I've got them here in the keyhole garden in the nooks and crannies, and they're nice and purple right now. They're a little temperature stressed, and so that's what they do. But I have also got a video on how I put that together, and I'll make sure I also link that in the description box. And so here I've got just some garden debris that I'll have to take to like a brush pile to get rid of. And then here is my greenhouse. I've got a rain barrel there off the side, and most of the stuff in my greenhouse is really just stuff I tried to overwinter, and for the most part things are fairly happy. I did have a tomato plant in here for several months, and it really did well, but then I got a aphid infestation and had to get rid of it, and so now I'm trying to play catch up and making sure I don't have aphids anywhere else. And so that's the one downside to a greenhouse, is those pests, once they take hold, they can really take over a greenhouse quickly. So another thing I've got going here are some cool seeds and veggies that I've started from seed. This is my first year doing that. And so for the most part, you need to start seed about 4 to 6 weeks prior to your last frost date. That might depend on what it is you're trying to grow. But here in Central Texas, I'm Zone 8B. Our last frost date is somewhere between the 1st of March and the 1st of April. So stay tuned to this channel, because in the upcoming weeks I plan on putting out several videos. 1, on how to start seeds. 2, on how to set up a automated drip irrigation system for your raised garden beds. And 3, how I planned out my garden area, I call it my garden pad, and some lessons I learned along the way. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and y'all take care.